G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another episode of Wasteland Survival. So in the last episode we finished off by getting ourselves to the planet after we had raided a Corvette wreck for its hydrogen tanks. So now obviously we need to head back down to the planet and then get all of these hydrogen tanks and connect them up to the base. So as you can see, that's these tanks here. So yeah, but before we do that, I actually need to move the mining ship to the top connector, which is basically up here. So yeah, because obviously we're going to be landing on the bottom. So yeah, we don't really want that to be there when we try and do that. So let's just go ahead and do that now. So we'll turn our HUD back on here. Turn the thrusters on and we shall disconnect it, and let's go ahead and move this back to the top connector. Actually, one other thing I kind of wanted to discuss while I was at it was I haven't really noticed any more Reaver contacts, so I think the mod might actually be broken, so I'm not sure what that's about. But yeah, so I'm going to have to check that out at some point. I don't really know what's going on with that. And maybe somebody in the comments can answer that question for me, because I haven't as yet gone to the mod page to check out what exactly is going on with that. So yeah, that's another thing that I kind of figured out. The other thing is that it's currently nighttime and I don't actually have any lights on the bottom of this ship. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to put 2 spotlights on the bottom just so that I can see what I'm doing when I'm landing. So what I'll do is I'll add 2 spotlights to the build planner here. Or actually, I'll see if I can withdraw the components for 2 of these. And yeah, it looks like I've got the components for them. So what I'm going to do is just place 2 on the bottom here. So I might just place one maybe there, and maybe there, and maybe also I can place some up the front here, maybe. Maybe I can place one there and maybe one there as well. Just so that when I come in for a landing I can actually see what I'm doing, because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to land a little bit farther away from the base than I would like to. So let me just make some interior plates here. Not 100, I only need 10. So, and the reason why I'm going to have to land pretty far away from the base is because this wreck, or this portion of the wreck, is actually still technically my enemy. So what's going to happen is all of the guns that are on the base and on the rover and all that sort of stuff are basically going to start firing upon that wreck. So that's definitely something I don't want. Alright, cool. So that's all the lights done. So now we can see what we're doing when we're actually landing. So let me just check one other thing. So the next thing I basically want to check is I just want to make sure that all of the guns on this ship are actually turned off. So let's just make sure that they all are. And as you can see, some of them are turned on. So let's just go ahead and turn all these ones off. And turn them off, because I'm not sure if you noticed, but in the last portions of the last episode I was actually being chased by some drones. So what I ended up doing is, in between this episode and the last one, is I actually turned on some of the upper turrets so that I could destroy those drones, because even though I outrun them, they actually ended up catching up to me when I got just above the planet and started damaging a few things. So in between the last episode and this one, I've actually gone ahead and repaired a few things as well. So alright, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn off the thrusters on the bottom so that we can just kind of coast down to the planet. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do, and we'll try and get ourselves as close to the base as we possibly can, but not too close. So, alright. Anyway guys, I'll see you once we have gotten closer to the planet. Alright guys, well we're getting pretty close to the planet, and as you can see I'm having a really hard time trying to keep this level. If I was to just let go of the mouse, and you can kind of see what happens. So the front of the ship is basically just falling down because the inertial dampeners just don't understand the fact that there is an enormous amount of weight on the front end of it. But if I turn the thrusters on the bottom, then it should basically level out a bit. So let's get reasonably close to the landing pad, not too close though. So you can kind of see the garage there. Now what I want to do is, at this point, I'm probably going to enable... Ooh, slow down a bit there, son. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to enable the point defense GPS markers, just so that I can position the ship at least 800 meters away from those. So you can kind of see that the right one is there, and where's the left one? Hang on, I can't see these. Okay, so we're gonna have to go this way, I think. So we'll go this way a little bit, and we'll put a little bit of distance between ourselves and the base, and try and land somewhere not too close to the base, because as I said, those guns are going to start firing on me, and that's exactly what I don't want to happen. But while we're here, I'm actually going to turn off the ore detector because it's picking up these ore signals and I really don't want them to be there. Although funnily enough, they're still kind of there for some reason, so I don't know what the go is with that, but that's alright. I guess we can work around it. Alright, so am I far enough away? I'm about 1.15 kilometers from those point defenses, which is not a lot, but it's also not too far as well. So alright, I'm gonna have to go forward a little bit more, I think, and I really wish those signals for the ore would disappear off my HUD. That would be nice, because they are very distracting. I'm gonna have to go pretty slow here though. Yeah, hang on, let me turn this on and back off again. Ah, there we go, that's a little bit better. Maybe I'll have to go left a little bit and then go forward a bit more. Alright, so let's see what happens when we go to about here. So I'm gonna have to be careful because some of the terrain around this area is we're surrounded by mountains and I cannot see a darn thing. And actually we're within 800 meters of that one there, so that's not good. Alright, so yeah, as I was saying, I can't see a darn thing. So I've got to be really careful that I don't smash into the side of a mountain here, because then all the hard work that we did by getting these things will kind of be mute. So let me go forward a little bit more, gain a little bit more distance from those turrets. Now I've set the range of these spotlights to 160 meters in between the last bit and when I cut to just before I was landing on the planet, just so that I can see what I'm doing. Alright, cool. So you can see that those spotlights have definitely come in handy. Now we can actually see what we're doing. I suppose what I could have done as well is just kind of waited until daylight and then just kind of, you know, dealt with the problem that way, but I didn't really want to do that. Alright, so now I'll just unlock the landing gear. We should be able to let go of that, and with any luck it won't create a whole heap of damage. And what I'll do is I'll actually back this ship up, because this isn't going to get fired upon, because obviously I own it, because it's my ship, you know what I mean. And then I'll try and point the spotlight towards that, so I've got a little bit of light on this situation. So right, now we can just kind of land. And the funny thing about all this is, and I've just kind of realized this, I guess, is that I I haven't really gained too much fuel out of doing all of this. So obviously this ship here has 2 large hydrogen tanks, and it's got, I believe it's 4 small hydrogen tanks, but realistically we've only really gained 2 large hydrogen tanks in fuel for all of our troubles and all that flying around in space. Mind you, it was kind of fun, you know, floating around and looking at various different wrecks, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things, we haven't really gotten too much use out of all the things that we've done, or at least we haven't gotten too much hydrogen for our troubles. But, you know, I get, like I said, it was pretty fun doing all that sort of stuff, so I guess there is that too. So now what I got to do is, well, I don't have to, but I think what I want to do is I want to grind away a lot of this stuff and just kind of leave the bare essentials. So maybe, you know, I'll grind away all of these things on the side, and then I'll grind away all of this stuff on the top, and I'll separate this half here just so that when I use the welding ship to actually bring this into the hangar or the garage, I'm not, like, you know, trying to lift so much weight, because I think the welding ship is going to struggle to lift all of that stuff. But before we can do any of that, I think what I may do is just go and get myself some more jetpack fuel, because that stuff tends to run out every time I am trying to do something, which is about par for the course, to be honest with you. So let's find a bottle and see if we can't grab ourselves some more hydrogen. Alright, awesome. And I'll get rid of the oxygen bottle because I don't need that anymore. I'll deposit these plates that I've got on me into the inventory because I don't need them either. Alright, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and turn off all of these point defense turrets. So we'll turn these ones off first, I guess. And honestly, it doesn't really matter which order we turn them off, just as long as they're turned off, because the last thing I want is for these turrets to start firing on me when I've got everything attached to the welding ship. So I'll go ahead and I'll turn all of these turrets off, and then we can start moving the rover out of the way and then start dragging all of this stuff into the garage. Okay, well that's the last turret turned off. So now what I got to do is disable the turrets on the rover, and as you can see, a storm has decided to roll in, so it's yeah it's perfect timing, I guess. Well, maybe not so perfect, but I think you guys pick up what I'm putting down. Alright, so let's make sure that the turrets are all turned off on this, and I believe they are from the hotbar just there. And what I need to do here as well is unlock the rear connector and then drive this thing forward out of the garage and get this thing out of the way. So change my view here just so I can get a bit of a better idea what's going on. So that should be far enough just there. Alright, cool. So I'll stop it there, turn the handbrake on, and we'll just let this thing sit here for a moment. And let's go and place some landing gears on the bottom of the weld ship, which is definitely what we need to do. Alright, actually, before I can do that, I actually need to withdraw the components for these said landing gears. So what I'll do is I'll add them to my build planner, but what I need to do here is change it to small grid. I'll add 2 of those, and then we can withdraw the stuff we need for them. Awesome. Alright, now in between the last episode and this episode, I've also gotten myself a new mouse. So it's a little bit weird, this mouse. I'm not sure if I really like it compared to the old one. If you guys are interested in some of the things I use, then let me know and I can tell you guys a little bit more about my setup and all that sort of stuff if you are interested in that kind of stuff. Alright, so let's weld these up. And as I mentioned before, by default, these will be switched to auto lock. Now before we go anywhere, we've got to turn our thrusters on, and we'll unlock the connector, and let's go ahead and we'll park this thing close to the wreck, because I just kind of realized that I haven't actually gotten rid of all of the blocks that I want to, so that we can pick this up a little bit easier. So let's in fact, what I may do is I might even just park this thing next to the components of this wreck, and we can kind of use the weld ship to transport the components back to the base. So we'll park it just here, I guess, and if I get it close to the ground, then the landing gears should just automatically lock, which they have. Awesome. Alright, so now what I can do is all this stuff that I grind off here, I can kind of just deposit it into the back of that ship. So we'll start with, well, I think what I'm going to start with here is, let's see, how is all this connected? I'll get rid of that, and I want to get rid of these gyroscopes, because obviously they're the biggest items. And if we have a look at this, you can kind of see that the gyroscopes, if I just grind these blocks, what's going to happen is they're going to fall, and they're going to fall on these hydrogen tanks. Now, my experience from when I was grinding down the Reaver ship tells me that gyroscopes are actually extremely heavy, and they can cause a fair amount of damage when they fall on stuff. Even from like just a simple 1 block distance, they can actually cause quite a bit of damage. So that's definitely something that I want to avoid. So we'll go ahead and we'll get rid of all this stuff. So what I'll do is I'll grind a fair bit of this stuff back, and then yeah, once I've gotten to that point, we'll go from there. Alright guys, well, I finally finished grinding down all of these things. So as you can see, we've basically just got the 2 hydrogen tanks left, and I've left this O2H2 generator in the middle because it's kind of acting as a conveyor between the 2 hydrogen tanks, and it means that I don't need to add a connector to each tank individually to transport the hydrogen into the base. So now what I'm going to do is basically a repeat of last time. So we're going to hook these things up to this little weld ship, and we're going to fly this over to the base. So I will try and get my little weld ship here centered as much as possible, and hopefully that will help with the gyroscopes just a little bit. So I think that's reasonably centered. It doesn't need to be perfect, but good enough is, or close enough is good enough, I guess, in this circumstance. So let's take these over to the garage and make sure that I don't crash it into anything on the way there, which would be very, very unfortunate. So, but you guys know what my flying is like, so it is entirely possible that we may even do that. Alright, so I'll get these reasonably close to where we need them to be. And, alright, so that should be relatively close enough. Let me get this lined up a little bit better here. We'll move these across a little bit more. Alright, I'll just leave them there for a second, and what I'll do is I'll withdraw 2 connectors, and we'll get these things hooked up and into the base. So let's go ahead and do that. Put one there, place another one there, and then just weld them up. Then what I'll do is I will find the O2H2 generators in the base, and actually we'll put gen just so that we get a better idea. Alright, so let's select them all and let's turn them off so that they're not going to fill the hydrogen tanks. Now let's find the hydrogen tanks that are in the base, and let's turn them back on, and let's set them to stockpile. Alright, so now when we connect these up, the hydrogen just should start just transporting itself automatically into the tanks on the base. And it's a little bit tricky to get this aligned properly. Alright, so we'll leave it there. And I'll go here and I'll manually connect these two connectors up. So we'll just set this one to lock. And then everything should start transporting across to our hydrogen tanks. Now, I think before we left, we had around about 18% in these hydrogen tanks. So I'm curious to see how much hydrogen we do actually get out of all of this. So yeah, 25.2%. So yeah, I think we had, what was it, 18%? So we haven't really gained that much hydrogen out of doing all of this. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, as I said, it wasn't, yeah, it probably wasn't worth collecting those hydrogen tanks, but it certainly was fun checking out all of those things. So let's grind these things away, and then from there we can get rid of these hydrogen tanks that we pillaged from the wreck. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of drop them down here. So I'll drop them down on the floor, I'll disconnect this thing, and what I'll do is I'll replace these two welders with some grinders. So I'll get rid of what's on my inventory, get rid of these, and I will replace those with grinders. Where's my grinders? There they are. And as I've mentioned before, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another one of these ships, and it's probably going to be like a dedicated mining ship, or sorry, a dedicated grinding ship, I should say. Because it is quite annoying doing this little exercise every time I want to convert this thing from a welding ship into a grinding ship. So, alright, let's start grinding all this stuff away. But first I need to add my block tools to the hotbar. And now we can start grinding things away. So I'll get rid of all these blocks on the top first. And then we can start getting rid of all the other stuff. Right, so we'll get rid of this hydrogen tank here. So get rid of that. And then I'll get rid of this battery first. And then I'll do the O2H2 generator after that. So I'll do that as well. And then we can finally get rid of this last tank. Right, fantastic. And now what I'll do is I'll dock this thing up to the base and get rid of all the components that are in here. Let's see if we can get this thing lined up relatively well. Well, we're way off. There we go. That's better. A little bit grindy, but it worked. Alright, so let's find a large one. And I'll select everything on the ship, and I'll just push this button here and then everything will get transported across. Now what I'll do is I'll find large 2 and I'll move the ice into that cargo container because that's where all my oars are. Alright, let's unlock the connector and let's go and park this thing upstairs. So I'll grab this thing and I'll put it back onto this connector here. Even though it's not actually hooked up to any sort of conveyor system, it's still going to be able to charge everything on this ship, or charge the batteries on this ship, I should say. Keep getting my words mixed up today. Alright, let's lock that down. Fantastic. I'll turn all the lights off because, as I said before, if you have too many spotlights turned on around the place, then it kind of gets a little bit funny. Now what we can do is we can move this thing, the rover, back into the garage. So I'll quickly do that as well. Right, so unlock the handbrake. And I'll select the camera on the back. And I should just be able to go straight back and it should still be lined up pretty much the same as what it was before. But I may have to adjust it just a little bit. And I'm still really happy with how this thing has turned out. I think this docking procedure is a lot easier than it was the first time I tried to do it. So let's get this thing connected. I think we're pretty close actually, or at least we should be. Yep, there we go. Alright, so let's lock that down. And what I'll do is I'll turn the lights off on the rover, just so that they're not doing funky things with the spotlights in the base. Because I notice whenever I've got lights on the rover and spotlights and all that other stuff turned on, then these spotlights on the roof tend to go a little bit funky. So yeah, that's the reason why I've done that. Alright, so let's try and get ourselves to the ship before we run out of jetpack fuel.
Fuel low.
Oh, there we go, we just got there. Oh, that was pretty close. Now, I think I actually have a hydrogen bottle somewhere here on the ship. So let's see if I actually do. I'm pretty sure I do. Let's search for a bottle. There we go, cool. Alright, so yeah, as I suspect, yeah, I do remember packing a few bottles into the ship before I left the planet and we went into space, so... Alright, cool. So, now we can go ahead and park this thing back onto its landing pad, and we can kind of do a couple of things after that. Now, one other thing I need to do is kind of remove the spotlights on the bottom of this as well. And I would really like to get the connectors for this thing sorted out. Well, not the connectors for the ship itself, but the connectors on the bottom of this landing pad. I would really like to get that sorted out at some stage. Probably in the very near future. And in fact, maybe that's what I will do in this episode. So, let's... park this thing down. Are we centered? Yeah, reasonably so. Let's check the back. Yeah, we're kind of looking alright. Alright, I think that's close enough. No, that's not what I want. I want these ones. Alright, actually let's turn off the thrusters. Alright, let's go have a look at our parking job. Have we actually parked this thing relatively straight? Not that it really matters, but it makes me feel better. Yeah, we're looking pretty straight on the back, and we are looking very good on the front. Nice. Alright, so that's nice and centered. So, there is another thing that I want to do. So, one of the other things I want to do is, and you've seen me try and stop ice from going into these hydrogen tanks quite a bit. So, I think what I need to do here is get this O2H2 generator and put some conveyor sorters before that O2H2 generator. So what will happen is I will allow ice to go to the O2H2 generator, and I will allow everything else to go to it, but I will only allow bottles to come out of it. So then this thing won't actually start generating ice for those hydrogen tanks. Although, actually, it will do that. So that's all right. I'll have to think about that a bit later. And you can see that I've placed in two O2H2 generators here. And my theory behind this was, I think I did this in between one of the episodes. I can't remember which. My theory here was to have two O2H2 generators that weren't actually connected to anything, so that the hydrogen tanks didn't pull the ice from them. But I think it's not really going to work too well for me, because if I try and go through one of the cargo access ports out in the garage, or say in the hangar when I do create some, then I think it's going to be very difficult to get bottles in and out. So I'm going to need to connect them up to the conveyor system somehow, but then also somehow stop them from trying to fill the hydrogen tanks. So that's definitely something I need to think about. So I think what I want to do now is try and figure out how I'm going to get a conveyor port or a conveyor system up to the hangar. And then from the hangar, I think what I can do is what I'll do is I'll have cargo access ports running underneath the hangar, and then I will have them running underneath the landing pad, and then they will ultimately go to this point here and then connect to this connector. So I'll probably have to have some sort of a piston arrangement with a connector on the end of that extends upwards. And yeah, so, but I haven't really decided where I want to pull the conveyor from. And actually, I think what I might do is the conveyor ports, I might use that conveyor junction that sits above that there air vent. And so I'll have a conveyor tube running upwards, and then it will go above this garage, but I don't want it to go too close to the roof, because obviously I don't want to see any holes in my roof, and it will go directly under the floor here. So I need to kind of work out how many blocks that's going to be. So let's see if we can't figure that out now. So if I'm correct, so alright, let's try and figure this out. So I believe the air vent occupies this space here. So let me grab an air vent so we can just try and visualize this and try and count the amount of blocks that we're going to need here. Alright, so that's our air vent, except a small grid for some reason. So our air vent sits something like that. Can I attach it anywhere? No, I can't, but that's alright. So yeah, it sits there. So basically we have, so we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4 blocks there. So that's 4 blocks, and that brings us up to this point here. So then we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then what I'll have to do is, so I'll go 11. So what I'll do is I'll create a drill guide that will go, so let's just do this right now. So 1, 2, darn it, run out of steel plates. Hang on, can I withdraw them from these tanks? Oh, very nice, very nice. Actually, one thing I do really like about this new mouse is the middle mouse button click is so much better. Alright, where were we? Okay, so we want to go 11 blocks up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then I just want to go a whole bunch of blocks back. I'm not exactly sure how many blocks, so I'll just make it as long as I possibly can. I think that should be good enough. Alright, so yeah. Maybe I can make it a bit longer. Yeah, let's just make it a little bit longer just to be safe. Because what I want it to do is I want it to kind of extend outwards from the hangar. So I want it kind of sticking out of the mountain a bit so that I can orientate it correctly. Alright, so let's create a blueprint of this. So we will name this the Wasteland. My typing sucks today. Wasteland Drill Guide. And I'll give it a name like, I don't know. Hangar Conveyor. Conveyors. Yep. That sounds pretty good. Alright, so let's find it. There we go. Awesome. Alright, so now what I'll do is I'll have to set up the projector to then extend through the mountain, and then we can start drilling the space out that we need to place these conveyors. And as somebody pointed out in the comments, what did they say it was? The tunnel shuffle or something like that. I don't know. I forget what they said, but it was pretty funny. So yeah, we're gonna have to drill the hole and then do the whole tunnel shuffle to weld all those blocks up, and then yeah, so alright, so what I'll do is I will go away and I will get all this stuff lined up, and then we will go from there. Alright guys, well I'm back, and I have gone ahead and I have aligned the drill guide, and you can see the projection marker there. So yeah, now it's time to start drilling. Now as you can see, it turns out that the Reaver mod actually is working, so I don't know why we did not see any Reavers when we were doing all of that stuff in space. That is a little bit weird, but this guy is getting pretty close to us. Now, I think if he gets within 5 kilometers, then he's going to kind of detect any movement of large objects or any ships. I think that, because it's been so long since I've dealt with the Reavers, that I'm pretty sure if I'm scooting around on my jetpack, then it doesn't really matter too much. I can kind of do whatever I want and he won't detect us. But if he does get any closer, then we could be in some trouble here. But it looks like he's not getting any closer, so I think we should be okay. And in fact, I can't even really see what type of Reaver that is. See if I can get a little bit closer to him without him detecting us. Now, can I control this turret from here? That is the question. And in fact, none of these turrets are actually turned on. Jeez. That really wasn't a smart thing to do. Can I control this turret? No, I can't. I think I need to build a seat to be able to control this turret. I was thinking maybe I'll control the turret just so I can get a bit of a better look at him. But if I can't see him from 5 kilometers away, then I wager it's a pretty small Reaver and I don't really need to worry about it too much. But I think what I do need to worry about though is actually turning on all of these turrets so that if he does kind of decide to come back or come over here and check us out, then I've got some defenses happening here. And as I mentioned in another episode, I think I might need to get myself a couple more of these point defense installations just to better protect myself and this base, because as I said before, I don't think this amount of turrets is going to be enough. If a similarly sized Reaver that we ground down comes along, what was that thing called again? I can't really... Oh, the Crimson Fury, that's the one. Yeah, so if one of those things comes along, then yeah, we're not going to have a good time. Alright, so as you can see, the drill guide is coming out directly underneath the floor of this this here hangar. So what I wanted to point out as well is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a quick GPS marker here. So we will call this the end of the hangar. So end of hangar. And let me go back down into the garage and I will show you the distance between the back of the garage and the back of the hangar. End of hangar. Oh. Wow. I actually thought that the hangar was nowhere near as deep into the mountain as what the garage was, but I think it turns out they're actually of a relatively similar depth, I should say. I actually thought the hangar wasn't that deep. I thought the garage was much, much deeper than that. Oh, well, that's okay. So that doesn't really matter too much. So at least that means that I can just go ahead and start drilling stuff. Alright. Well, with all that said, let's actually go and do some drilling. So what I will need to do first, though, is how far away from the wall are we? I believe the wall is about there, so I think I'm pretty safe to just drill here and we won't see it through the back of the garage. So let's I guess let's go ahead and let's start drilling this out. So let's get this done. Alright, well, it looks like we've reached the floor of the hangar. So let me just go out of this tunnel and let me just confirm that I haven't drilled too close to the back of the garage wall, because like I said, I don't want any of this stuff to be seen and I want my walls to be nice and perfect. And it looks like we do have enough room and they are looking very nice. Right, so let's head on back into the tunnel and let's drill the final hole, I should say, to the edge of the hangar. Actually, maybe what I can do here is, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but maybe I can just get... Nah, that's alright. I think what I'll do is, I had thought about just trying to get the conveyor tube to just pop out of this mountain here without actually having to drill around it. So, you know, maybe like put it like that so that it just pops straight out of the bottom of the wall or straight out of the side of the mountain. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get close enough to do that without it showing, so that's alright. I'll just cover it up with some blocks underneath here. And then what I'll probably do is I'll get it to about... I'll get the conveyor to about this point, and then I'll just shoot off from there, and then we'll go to the center, and then we'll just kind of go straight back from there. We'll go through this leg here, through this leg here, and then we will ultimately end up here. And as I said, I'm going to need to create some sort of a conveyor system that ends up here. And it is a bit unfortunate that the leg ends up really close to this, but that's alright. I'll just have to kind of think about that while I'm drilling all this out. Alright, so let's get back to drilling and then start laying down these conveyors. So I suspect this may take me a while because I have to drill quite far. I can't remember exactly how many. It's been so long since I built the garage that I can't really remember how many blocks long the garage actually is, but I do know that it is fairly long. So alright, well, once I finish this tunnel, then we will go from there. Alright, well, we've finally reached the end of the hangar, so this is looking pretty good. So obviously we have our little tunnel for our conveyor tubes running all the way through here, and you can see I've had to drill underneath these blocks here, and basically these blocks, or those blocks there, are sitting underneath this airtight, or these airtight hangar doors. So yeah, I just had to kind of go underneath that for now, and I think that should be fine. Maybe what I can do is I can just make this a conveyor junction, and then we can just, because conveyor junctions are airtight anyway, so maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll just use that, and then we end up back here. So we're gonna have to place a junction there and then run our tube. Now, before I get too far, let's just check out the roof of the garage and make sure that I haven't created some sort of an ugly drill line here. And yeah, as you can see, we can't see anything through the top of the garage, and that is exactly what I wanted. So now I just need to kind of work out how I'm going to run this conveyor over to this part here. well, I guess, you know, obviously the first step is actually run the conveyor and then figure out how I'm going to get all of this connected up. But in fact, maybe what I can do is just kind of figure that out now-ish. So I would need to place my piston there like that. So yeah, that's not really what I want to do. You know what? I could even move the ship a little bit farther forward, or further forward, farther forward, I don't know, whichever way you want to say it, I guess. So how many blocks away from the front are we? So we've got like 1 and then 2, 1, 2, 3 blocks. And then what about the back of the ship? So the back of the ship is only like maybe 1 block. Or maybe, is that 2? Let's just figure this out here. 1.5. So maybe what I'll do instead is I will lengthen this landing pad. Or no, I'll just move the ship forward a little bit, and then we can just move this piston forward like a block or so. So yeah, maybe I'll move the ship forward by 1 block, and then I'll move this this piston forward by 1 block as well. So let me just grind out the piston part and that, and then I'll place a block there, and then I'll grind this out, and then I will grab a piston and I will place it there. No, I won't, because I can't place it there because it won't let me. So, where's my piston? There's my piston. So maybe I can just place a piston there. And then just put the connector on top of that piston like that. Yeah, so just put the connector there and it will go up 1 block. I could even just place the connector, literally just the connector on its own without any pistons whatsoever. And maybe that's something I can actually do. But I usually tend to use a piston on the bottom. Yeah, well, you can kind of see that the ship is lower than what this connector would be. So I think in this case I am going to have to use a piston and a connector kind of solution here. So, you know, place the connector there. Actually, I think I have another idea to try and get around this issue. Maybe instead of a piston, and I guess it's not really an issue, but it just kind of doesn't really look right having this piston here, and with a conveyor system that's going to have to come underneath it. So maybe instead what I could do is I could get myself an advanced rotor. So let me see if I can find my rotors here. So we could get like an advanced rotor and we could place it somewhere there. So actually, do I have the components for a rotor? Oh, looks like it won't let me place it.
No energy.
Let me see if I can place it there. No, it's not going to let me. So my theory was to try and place an advanced rotor there, and then I could adjust the offset of the advanced rotor to lower the connector down far enough so that it could like kind of stick out of the floor and then just kind of connect to that. But that's alright. I'm just going to have to kind of think about that one a little bit more. Maybe I can adjust these legs and move these inner legs out to the side a little bit more. Move the ship forward and then have the piston under some kind of a like a bubbled area or something like that, but that's alright. That's just something that I'm gonna have to figure out when we get closer to actually doing that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and let's start placing down all of these conveyor tubes. So this is probably going to take me a while, so what I'll do is I'll do all of this off camera. So I'll start placing down all of my conveyors, and yeah, we'll kind of go from that point onwards. Alright guys, well I will see you once this is all done. Alright guys, welcome back. Well, I have finished doing all the conveyor system up until this point here, so I still need to clean this up a little bit, you know, place some blocks here to kind of dress it up, make it look a little bit more pretty and all that sort of stuff. But while I was doing that, I decided to have a bit of a play around with this whole setup here. So as you can see, the ship is sitting over there, just in the valley, and the reason why I moved it across is because I discovered that the reason why I couldn't place the advanced rotor was simply because of the fact that it occupied like a 2-block spacing, so I couldn't actually place it down when the ship was on top of it. So I've actually been able to place it down now, and you can see that, yeah, it's all working pretty nice. So what I've done as well is I have changed the offset of this rotor to its maximum downwards. So I'm pretty sure this is going to work out quite nicely. So I actually did test fit this with the ship, and it fits underneath the ship quite nicely, even with these slightly lower heavy armor blocks here. So I'm gonna basically move the ship across, and we're just gonna test it one more time, and we'll see how the things are looking, and yeah, we'll kind of go from there. So let's unlock the landing gear. Now, obviously you might notice that I've gone through quite a bit of fuel in this thing, so... And that was one thing I kind of failed to mention before, was with all that effort that we went through of getting those hydrogen tanks, I actually probably expended about half of the fuel that this ship contains. So yeah, it kind of really wasn't worth it, but yeah, like I said, it was still a lot of fun to do so. So let me just turn my HUD off here so I can get a bit of a better look at what I'm doing. And if I'm not mistaken, the connector is basically right under those blocks there. So I should just be able to go straight downwards, or maybe not. Alright, let me turn the HUD back on and let's lock it down. And let's see how this is looking. I think I may need to swap these blocks out, because this side isn't exactly touching the floor, and you can see that the connector is kind of bottoming out. It is connected, but it is still kind of bottoming out, and I need to... Oh, it looks like I need to add another row of armor blocks here. So how damaged are they? Not very. How damaged are these? They're all good. Alright, so I need to add an additional block spacing here for a cutout for these thrusters. So I think what I may do here is... Okay, so I have thought about this, and I thought this might be an issue. You know, the kind of bottoming out on the connector before the landing gears actually fully engage with the floor. So there's a couple of things I can do. So the first thing I can do is I can obviously color the blocks like this. So let's say I grab yellow, and I could just go like that, like that, and then like that. And then I could grab this color, and then I could just do something very similar to that. Yeah, but the only problem is all these lines are different colors, and it kind of bothers me. It doesn't really look that fantastic. So I think instead what we can do is, so let me just grab this color again, and we will erase these indiscretions that we put on our lovely floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a whole bunch of components for... Come on, jetpack, work. I'm going to grab a whole bunch of these steel plates here. So we can use steel catwalks, or we can use these grated catwalks. So I'm not sure which one I think will look better, but yeah, let's just have a look, I suppose. So I could make it like this. So, you know, place the catwalks like that, and then maybe what I could do is I could change the color to yellow, and then I could spin them the other way around, and we could maybe have them sitting on the floor like that, and then the landing gears basically land on top of these. Or the other option is that we could do the same but with the with these catwalks here, so these ones. So you know, again, we'll just place one there, one there, and then we'll spin them around again, and then we can change the color to the black, and we can just place them like that. And alright, so I'll just quickly weld all these up, and yeah, we'll see how this is all looking. Alright, well, that's how they're both kind of looking at the moment. So I think either one probably looks about as good as each other. I got to admit, I do kind of like this one a little bit better. It makes it look a little bit more industrial. So I do think that is the way that I am going to make it. So what I need to do at this point is grind all of these out. Do the same with these ones back here, and then replace them with regular armor blocks, and then obviously I need to change them, put these grated catwalks over the top of that. And I think what that will do is it will raise it up just that little bit so that we have enough clearance there where we can connect. And in fact, with all of that said and done, I probably don't even need this this rotor here. So yeah, there is that, but I don't know. We'll see how we go. So alright, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the ship. So let's just move the ship off of the landing pad once more, and then we have ourselves a little bit of room to work. So unlock the landing gears, and let's go and move this thing off. And we'll just park this thing down again. And I'm going through a bit of fuel doing this, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's kind of worth it, because I really want all these things to look nice. And for me, that's probably one of the best things about space engineers, is being able to build things that are functional is really awesome. But for me, the thing that really does it is building things that are functional and then also look spectacular at the same time. And I'd like to think most of the time I get it right, but hey, you know, let me know what you guys think. So anyway, I am going to fix all this stuff up. We're going to change all this stuff, and once we have done that, I will be back. Alright guys, well, I've finally finished welding all this stuff up, and so far it's looking pretty good. So yeah, now we're just going to kind of test fit this thing, and we'll see how it looks. And one thing I am curious about is if I even need this advanced rotor, because if I don't, then I may just get rid of it entirely and just rock a conveyor with this connector just kind of hanging out the floor. The other thing that I've kind of run into is that you can kind of see this pillar here is no longer supporting the actual landing pad itself. I mean, it doesn't really matter physically, because there are enough connection points between the landing pad and the floor, but it is really bothering my OCD, so I'm not sure what I want to do about that just yet. Perhaps what we can do is we can rearrange the things again, and we can move this back one block, move all of this back one block, and you know, we can put the conveyor one block closer there, so that the conveyor sits there. But you know what? I'm not really going to bother with that too much at this point in time. I just kind of want to get this thing functional and get everything connected up, and just make sure that, you know, everything is looking pretty good in terms of getting things connected. So what I'm going to do here is just move this thing back onto the landing pad, and we'll just check the clearances and see how this looks, because I don't really want to use that rotor, because I do fear that Clang will pay us a visit later on. He might not visit us straight away, but I have a funny feeling that he might later on, so that's something that I kind of want to avoid. But I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. So, alright, let's... the problem is, though, I can't see much of anything. So, this is going to be interesting. So, I think that is roughly... You can see that rib there. I think that's roughly where the connector is. So, I think if I move the ship over that way a little bit... And how are we looking at the front here? Can't really see too much. Yeah, I think that's pretty straight. We're pretty straight on the back here. How are we looking at the front now? Ah, close enough. Doesn't need to be absolutely 110% perfect, but yeah, alright, cool. I thought the thrusters weren't turning off there for a second, so... Alright, let's see how this looks. So, yeah, the connector's close enough to actually connect. Now, the interesting thing for me would be is... Alright, let me just withdraw the components for 2 connectors, and I can kind of test this theory out. So, let's just get rid of everything that's on my inventory here. I will withdraw 2 connectors. Is that everything that I need? Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grind a single block out of the ship, and we're just going to like place a random connector here somewhere. So let's just like place it here, for example. So yeah, we'll just place it there. Let's grab our connector. Where's my connectors? There they are. Alright, let's place one there. So, wait, what? That's weird. Oh, I think I pressed C. Alright, so let's place it there. Let's weld that up. And then what I'll do is I'll grab another connector here and I'll just place it here. Now, obviously, it's not going to let me place it, but at least I can kind of gauge whether or not it's actually going to connect properly if I was to use a conveyor as opposed to something else. So, I think that'll work. It is a little bit close, but I do think that will work. And actually, another way I can kind of test this out is I could change the offset of that connector there. So let's get rid of this connector here. Well, not that connector, but I could change the offset of that rotor. So let's put this block back, weld that up. Let's find a control panel. Actually, can I build a control panel? Let me see here. I'll try and build just a regular button panel here, maybe. So yeah, yeah, that'll be good enough. Alright, so let's find our advanced rotor. And let me just change the offset of this one to just 0. In fact, 0.0. Okay, cool. And let's see how that looks. So, I think that should be pretty much level with any other, or like with where a conveyor would end up. So, I don't think that looks too bad. It is pretty close, but maybe we will get away with that. And then maybe what I can do from there is like move the ship back 1 block and then not have to relocate these legs, because that's something I definitely don't want to do, because this is really bothering me. But I know I'm being very finicky, but yeah. I'm sure you guys know that I'm a little bit of a perfectionist by now. So yeah, that kind of does bother me a little bit, but I guess we'll kind of have to see how we go with that. Alright guys, well I think that's probably going to be it for this episode. I would have loved to have completed this entire project, getting this landing pad sorted out, but yeah, I think we've definitely made a lot of progress on it, and at least I've now figured out a way to get this connector sorted out without having to use a piston, because I really didn't want to have to go that way. So what I'm going to try though is I'm definitely going to try and replace this rotor here with a with just a regular conveyor junction, and then also a connector on top of that. I might change these blocks over to something else, and I think I am going to go ahead and move these pillars out to the sides here. I think that's probably going to be the best option. It's going to mean that I can kind of distance this one from there. I can put this one over there, and I think it's going to be the least amount of work, at least in terms of yeah, because these things here, you know, they take a long time to weld up, and just the sheer amount of steel plates in those is just, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I think that's probably going to be the best looking and easiest way I can go ahead and achieve that. So anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Wasteland Survival. If you like this video, then consider leaving us a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more episodes. Alright guys, well, I will see you next time.